about mocking server data. So please give a warm welcome to our second presenter, Piotr, and his colleague, Przemysław.
Hello everyone. Thanks for coming. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Piotr Adamczak, and I'm an iOS developer with 6 years of experience. I'm the owner of a digital gamma company, and currently I'm working for Mobile-Warsaw. Next to me is
Szurmak, nice to meet you. I'm doing iOS development for around 4 years. I have my own company as well, and I also work at Mobica doing a project together with Piotr.
And today we're going to talk about mocking server data in iOS, but not only for UI testing. And I would like Przemysław to introduce it to them.
Our presentation will consist of 5 main parts. 2 of them are just easy introduction to the topic, then we'll show you a simple demo of what we do, and then we'll discuss the summary. You may ask, why do we need automated testing if we already write some unit tests and they already taking a lot of time to write? And so why do we need to add even more code, which is not the application code? So the answer is quite simple. It's money, because thanks to the automated tests we can save our most precious resource, which is our time, and as we know, time is the money. But the, let's say, other benefits of using automated tests are, first of all, that we can detect possible regression in the app much faster and much easier, actually. Another benefit is that we can test our app on multiple devices even at once using some simulators. And the last but not least is that the fact your QA team can actually upgrade their knowledge and maybe in the future become even a developer, which can lead to, let's say, better understanding in your team. So your dev can talk with dev language to your QA and they can understand it, which is probably a great benefit. So, we probably all know it. It's the most important tool for UI testing on iOS platform. Actually, not only iOS platform, because it's for all Apple platform. It's UI tests. And it was introduced in 2015 with Xcode 7. It replaced some old tool from our instruments tools, which was maybe not that good. You can write your code in either Objective-C or Swift, which seems to be very interesting. But also there's a very, very, very interesting feature that you can record your tests, so your QA team doesn't need to be so good at programming, because most of the tests can be written by just clicking through the app. Important note is that the testing application has no access to the process of the tested app. This might be very confusing if you start writing those tests. And there is a interesting feature that you can run it on simulators, but you can run it as well on the real device. And interesting note is that from the testing application you can control any app installed on the real devices, not only the one you wrote, which is really interesting for some hacks. And yeah, we can go further. So how do we write them? As I told you in the beginning, you can start doing that in an easy way just by recording them. all your taps, swipes, and touches will be converted by Xcode to the Swift code, and I think maybe even to Objective-C, but I don't remember. The problem is that sometimes it generates really weird code which you need to fix, and that's why it would be really nice if you would know some programming language at some basic level. Then there's a, let's say, advanced path. I guess for all of us it's not really that advanced because we know how to write the code, and the code is really simple. The names of the functions, methods are really simple. So if you want to introduce this to your testers, they won't be scared because it's simple. And there is a second part. Not only your clicks and swipes has to be written somehow, but you need to write your expectations. So you need to express somehow the way, what do you expect to get after doing all the clicks, swipes, and stuff like that. And this one is very simple as well. So let me give you voice to my friend Piotr. He will explain you a bit more the details of what we do.
Thank you, Przemysław, for the introduction. So, it sounds great, right? Everything is very simple, very smooth, but during implementation of the UI tests, we came across two issues. There are some minors and the previous ones, but let's talk about it. We had the issues like that we record the tests, and then when we run it again, it turns out that Xcode doesn't found some elements, so we have to add some extra checks like waiting for elements to appear, making those tests more asynchronous. Also, we had a problem with test execution time, which we found a few solutions. First hack is to just speed up the animation, but trust me, it works blazing fast if you just speed up the animation. And another way to speed up the test is just to use the test to use a few devices in parallel, thanks to the Xcode 9. But the most important issue that we had is that we cannot isolate our app from outside world. Basically, we do not want to rely on the internet connection, or we don't want to test our app on staging or production environment. It's just, it cannot happen. And what we can do, if we cannot rely on something external, we thought that we can create something that is local. Simple as that. So we came up with the idea of a DIO server framework, which basically is a small, tiny web server inside the application, which you can connect to. When you start your application, you need to define what kind of server scenario you want to use. What is we call it the mock case. What is the mock case? You can think about the mock case about the collection of the responses that you expect. For example, you have a weather application, and sample mock case can be like great weather mock case, and you expect that in your JSON or XML or whatever you use, you will have the data which tells that the weather is good, or the rain, or bad conditions, something like this. You can also simulate the server errors with this, or timeouts, and whatever you do. Yeah, so that's a sample. You have our base mock case, which you have to iterate from, and you set up the default mock case in your app, which have all the default responses that new app will normally run. And based on your default implementation of the mock case, you can create the special ones, like this is like the high Bitcoin price mock case because we have a app for Bitcoins, or like server error mock case. How do we start it? Basically, we have something like environment variables, which you can define whatever you want, whatever variable you want to have. And we call it just UI mock case name. And if you define it here, the app will know which scenario you want to use. It's simple as that. Let me show you a little demo. Alright, here we go. So, let's start. Let's see how our app works without any mocking of the data. So we have a simulator here. Alright. Oh, and right now it's real data. Based on the public API. Basically what this new app does is explain all the top cryptocurrencies and their prices. You can also switch between different currency and come back and see the price in the different currency. Alright. Everything's clear so far? I hope so. So let's see what we have here. As I said, we had to declare something that is our base mock case. And in that base mock case, we have the endpoints that we want to cover with our case, within our application. And the demo mock case gives us the default result of for those endpoints. Basically, it's nothing more than just a simple JSON file. In that case, that just have only two cryptocurrencies. And in that demo mock case, you also need to declare your mappings, your route. The routing is just the URL that you will hit and the function you want to call to respond. You can also have some extra parameters in that call to whatever you want. So let's see how to start it. I just basically copy the name of the mock case and add it as a UI mock case. And right now, if I will run it, it will give me results from that particular mock case. As we can see, the server loaded the demo mock case and started on port 8080. Everything is customizable, so don't worry. But yeah, it works, right? It's some static data, but what else we can do? How we can use it? Of course, we can start some simple code, some simple tests, right? Please Xcode launch the application with our demo mock case and try to search for example, Bitcoin. that simple as that. But that's the only one part, right? It's just static responses. If we want to have some more fun with it, we can create the dynamic models. For example, you can count how many requests you made for the request and change the response accordingly. So, for example, I created the dynamic price difference log case, which just multiplies the number of requests that I made as the price of the bid. By the way, I used a library called Mustache for it, which is like basically the template of the JSON file. I have the template of the JSON here, and I can declare dynamically all of the data I want to know. So, if you want to see this in action, I can actually show you the sample test. It should load the dynamic price different log case and see if difference between current price and from the last price and the current price has changed, and how much. So let's see how it works. I've just started. Let's do the pull to refresh a few times. Checking each time if data was updated. As you can see on the test results, we can see the test passed. We can see even some screenshots from the app. Sorry, it's not configured right now. And yeah, that's about it. What we can do with dynamic mode case. Przemek, if you want, you can talk about your test case.
Yeah, I just wrote another test case which is pretty simple, because the app is simple, so there is not that much to test, but maybe it will be interesting. So I wrote the test for testing if the server is returning proper values using different currencies. So my mock case is called currency conversion mock case, and it does return some static value for dollars as well as złotówki. So let me show you how it works. It's no magic, but it's quite interesting. The app is starting right now, and yeah, so after loading, the test checks if there is $1,000 for Bitcoin, then changes the currency to Polish zloty, and then it checks if the Bitcoin costs 123 Polish zloty, which is actually true, and the test returned it successfully. And that's my test.
Hopefully it's not a true and real world. Yeah, what else can we do with it? Because right now we showed you only the one part of it. But, okay, wait a second. Alright, in our library, in the demo, you have extra functions like pull to refresh, swipe up and tap, or going to background. And as Przemek said, you are able to go even over the springboard with the UI test right now. And it's all available for you. And the different solutions and improvements. The important part is that right now, as I just said, we showed you the one way how to retrieve the data. But you can also think about it like you have an app with some custom tracking mechanism. That, for example, you said that your user was just on the screen A and going to screen B or something like this, and you want to see if those events were reported. And normally the QAs they have the test cases where go click on this, check on logs if this was reported or not. You can basically create a log case which collects all of those data for you and check on actual UI test if those data were reported. So it could be really a helpful tool for QAs. To be honest, we did even a little workshop for our QAs, and trust me, they are really willing to learn new things, and because they don't want to do the same thing over and over, like like I said, those analytical events, it's just killing them. Also, we create extra tool, but it's not available yet, to create a beautiful HTML report with all the screenshots. That's what the application was doing during those UI tests. It's pretty cool for management, especially to see the results, what is going on. Yeah, and we about it. So to sum up, we want to say that it's pretty easy to use. Don't be scared about UI tests. It's very repeatable because you can run it over and over, get the information about regression so fast without your testing being killed. So testing the same thing again. It adds a lot of business value to your project because you can show your product owners that, hey, we care about the product and we do the things that we cannot test manually only, and all the rest of it is done by our automation. So it's a huge business value for us, for the business. Yes, as I said, it makes life easier because they can learn new things. Of course, there are some drawbacks about this, especially when we change our base extort from 8 to 9, or most of our tests start to failing because we didn't use a lot of asynchronous checking with the predicates and expectations, stuff like this. And you have to remember that if you will write UI tests once, you should take care about it. But because your UI can change, so if your UI will change, you will have to test. You will have to change your test accordingly. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. No rocket science here. But if you want to use it, there is an URL or addresses, and we are happy to get some questions from you.
Why did you decide to write your own tool? Because I know there are some solutions for that. For example, Mobile-Warsaw, you can use some, for example, proxy tools like Jars. You can configure on your CI to use some presets with JSONs to respond to your requests. So why did you decide to write your own tool? What was the motivation?
Basically, the biggest motivation was the customization of it, because just by using those tools, we wanted to have also option to test the responses. As I said, because we were working on the very huge app that used a lot of tracking analytical mechanism, and we want to just take over from the testers things like checking the logs and stuff like this. That's why we decided to do it our way, and that's why we end up like this.
And maybe I'll add something more because actually I never used the tools you mentioned, but I guess they work on some server somewhere, even though they are mocked.
Mockingjay is a library you can use. You can write some code to define endpoint you want to mock and response you are expecting inside the test. Also, you can use the chars. You can configure chars proxy tool to respond.
Yeah, but the difference is that all of this is not leaving the, let's say the data is not leaving your process. It doesn't go anywhere outside of that.
Mockingjay is inside your code, so you don't have to go outside of your code. You don't have to configure extra tools on your CI or
Also another benefit of it is that you can take, for example, the name of the mock case you want to run, for example, from the settings. So the testers can easily just type another mock case, and they are sure that the data on the server will be exactly the they expect.
how long will it take you to write it? How long time did it take you?
Like 1 month,
How many people are you?
maybe.
A little bit of my help.
But
Two people.
Yeah, let's say one with just a little bit of help.
but it's not so hard as it seems to be, because they're all, for example, HTTP engine is based on free open source code which called Swifter. Another one was Mustache, which is also the template framework. But if anyone will use it, I will be really happy.
What was it like part of the company project and it for
I started before during the company, but I never had the time to finish it. And when the management said that, hey, we don't have UI testing around, what can we do? And I said, okay, I started something, so maybe we can continue with that. And this is how it ends up.
a question about implementation. Is it implemented on a real web server or rely on a session?
No, it's implemented as a real web server.
And why?
As I said, I just used the library that was on the top of us, which is just a tiny web server.
Okay, so there wasn't any motivation behind the decision to go with real web server or not work with some responses on
No.
the URL session?
No. There was, we just decided to do it like
To go this way and
yeah. And it was also another motivation to do it like this was that you can also debug it with things like Postman or something like this from the browser. So why not?
do you have some tests based on real server communication or you are only testing the modes?
In my opinion, you shouldn't do things like that, because you never know if there is a line in the code that is broken, and maybe you can DDoS the server or something like this. The bad things can happen if you're testing on the production.
Okay, I have one question.
Yeah.
You said that you test on pretty fast. Does it change on CI machines? Maybe slower CI or the slower the same?
Not really.
So it's not slowed down.
Right now, we have like 80 tests in Aura, and it takes like 30 minutes or 40 to complete all of it. Yeah. So basically the time increased with how many tests you have. But I don't know how to answer it better.
So what doesn't clog, it doesn't slow
so any dramatic slowdown.
That's good.
How do you use your test? I mean, you run the test plan before you deploy your application, or you have some schedules for test execution?
Basically, we have one trigger in our Jenkins to run it every night. If there was any change in the code. They are not running every code. This is really horrible. Yeah?
URL mappings on the whole. How do you address multiple API versions? How do you just against multiple API versions?
Basically, what you can do, because I can show you one thing. This is our REST manager, very simple one. And when we are starting the application, we just check if the server is running, and then we change the base URL. You can define a base URL depending on which version you're using.
Does it happen in your project that you have to support multiple versions from multiple services? For example, one service, one just version 1, and you implemented some features on some other services, and they are using version 2. Like you have some modules.
In our project, basically we have just the latest version of the API. In the project we are using it, if the API is changing, it's changing for, there's no versioning. Let's put it like that.
But if you want to have versioning, there is no problem. You can just create another mock case, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because each mock case will base your responses on it.
Are you also using like offline synchronization? Like you are gathering some data, for example, you are scanning some barcodes offline, you are some building or no access to internet, and then you have to synchronize with this server. Are you also looking at this?
You are asking about synchronization between static, for example, responses?
Well, you are gathering some offline data, like with your I don't know if internet access.
Okay.
And then you need to simulate and you enter some location with internet access and you have automatically synchronize the server. You are also doing this.
We do not synchronize the data, but you can fulfill the function with whatever source you need. If you want to read it from the database or something like this, you can also read it during the actual test execution. So basically, the source of the data is up to you how to handle the cache.
I was just asking if you are. And you mentioned that you are also recording tests. What are your experiences? What is the best to use for identifying the elements? Accessibility in higher or something else?
For us, if we cannot find the element, yeah, we use the accessibility. In most cases, it does the job.
How about tables and identifying elements in table themselves? I had really big troubles with this.
Yeah, we have something like this, that for example, you have the element on the table view and it could be underneath your table. I did this in a little bit hacky way. Basically, I'm searching if on the screen there is this element, and if it is not, it's just wipe out.
I have all of other questions, but maybe the last one, you mentioned, and we can take it offline. You mentioned snapshot of the application. What are you using for this last snapshot?
No, it's building export. Yeah, basically, what you need to do is just add an extra parameter to your export build command and give export build the path as your output. So, and there you have all the attachments from the test site. It's nothing. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much.